Okay, without further ado, let's start the session. I believe all of you can hear me clearly. A few in notices. Basically, if you have any questions, please go ahead and put it into the Q&A or chat so that if time permits, I can share my perspective on these questions, or else actually we will make sure that you'll get the answers after the session. If you can send us an email to info@isaca.lk. You can see my contact details on the top right-hand corner. And if there's anything that you can write to us for more information. So I'll start with a quick introduction to myself. I'm Lakmal Embuldeniya. Uh, I kind of position myself as a facilitator and a mentor. I've been in the industry for last 2 decades. I'm a specialist in information systems, systems engineering, information security, governance, risk, and compliance. Of course, currently I'm the president for Information Security Systems Audit and Control Association for Sri Lanka. So, first of all, I will start with something that you may have already been familiar with. I believe most of you may have heard of this TPRM, this third-party risk management. So what is TPRM? Is of course this is not a novel concept for any of these countries which I mentioned in the map: the Canada, United States, Europe, European Union, China, and Australia, because they've been working on this for almost last couple of decades. But with the evolvement of technology and with the post-COVID changes that has happened, now most of the countries have strictly positioned themselves and kind of they are strictly looking into this third-party risk management. Of course, there is an impact. This is one of the key impacts which more of these exporters uh, face. So of course, I'm not going to go detail on what each and every country has with these TPRM and how they apply these rules and what kind of regulations they have. Of course, it will be a session for another day. But for the moment, I will give you a kind of a glimpse of it. So basically, it's the TPRM is about risk planning, due diligence, contract negotiation, ongoing monitoring, and termination. So this is particularly important for any importer. So whoever getting your services, basically your services or your goods, to make sure that they are uh, having their own business continuity. So how this and the digital trust come into play? So of course, when it comes to this risk planning, due diligence, contract negotiation, all of these, we mostly looking to information. So because most of the time, the customers import or basically they get the services from outside party, mostly outside their continent even. So when it comes to the trust, so of course, trust has gaps in many levels. This is one reason why we always talks about digital trust or trust between parties. So of course, starting from if you look at within organization, even they themselves has gaps between their pillars. So if you look at board of directors, you have gaps with business units or C-suite, or maybe their own IT or cybersecurity teams. At the same time, you can see there is definite gaps outside the company as well. So external vendors and suppliers or government institutes. So you always have these trust gaps between each and every uh, area. So of course, when it comes to exporters, the places where you get stuck is mostly when there is a question raised from any of these layers, from the customer or maybe customers IT team or maybe their compliance team, their procurement team. So when there are questions raised by these personnel, so you might not have the right person to answer or basically give a right answer to the question that they have raised. So you might go around and kind of try to kind of cater to that question with the knowledge that you may have. But of course, most of the time, if it fails, that may lead to kind of not getting the opportunity for us to export. So I will talk about a couple of things why digital trust. Uh, is important, how the digital trust connects with the exporters. So here you can see there are four key areas why it is important. Number one, verification. So when it comes to companies, basically they are always are not able to verify their overseas counterparts. So it's very important to understand whom you are working with. So there has to be some guarantee, there has to be some mechanism where you can bridge the gap between the exporter and their customers. So that's where the verification is important. And in absence of this trusted relationship, there is always concerns that trade may not actually go through. So of course, verification would be the number one. Because if you are getting into the business with someone outside your country, outside your continent, so it's very important for you to kind of have a mechanism to bridge this gap. Secondly, it's the standards. Even when one party has local trust marks, so basically you may have your ISO, you may have your SLS, or maybe certain other certifications which is related to the respective countries' qualities as well. But of course, it's very important to understand the exact level of assurance this provides, especially when it comes to navigate through the local data protection frameworks and regulations. Of course, if there's any information is in place, so of course these standards would be very important. And thirdly, if you are going through all of this, so the next phase would be the contracting. So at the time of contract, mostly, and nowadays, I mean, if you look at the latest trends of getting contracts done, almost all the time we signed electronic contracts. I believe you may have, since you are exporters, you may have already encountered this Adobe Sign or maybe DocuSign or similar signing platforms. They almost all of the time, your customers may send you a document and expect you to sign with your actual signature, or maybe you can just type in your name so that it considers as the binding. So I will talk about how these things will connect at a later stage and how binding they are. But of course, why we need the connection with the digital trust. Thirdly is the contracting. And finally, the recourse. In the event of an disagreement, there's no many mediation options available. So in order for you to handle the cross-border disputes, of course, in a cost-effective way, so you have to have this digital trust in place. So how does this becomes basically the digital trust becomes the power in today's marketplace? So of course, when it comes to digital trust, it acts as three different catalysts. Of course, as an enabler, it paves the way for smooth and efficient international trade. So basically, when you have the digital trust between yourself and the customers, or the customers' countries, or the continents, so of course, it will minimize the friction caused by the information security concerns. And second, as a differentiator, now you have a lot of competitors, of course, within the country as well as from other countries as well. So if you are looking at setting Sri Lankan business apart from these competitors, of course, you have to show your commitment to data security, privacy, and ethical business practices. This is how you become a differentiator. So basically, you will have advantage on top of your competitors. And finally, actually, this is not directly related to you, but uh, digital trust is itself is an export business. So we can kind of build our own practices in the country and kind of share that information with the that will basically that services with the export market. Right. So these are the things that we have to understand very importantly. So of course, now you have a little bit of understanding why digital trust and what it is, and kind of how it impacts, and what the importance of it for exporters. But when it comes to what are the important areas to understand about digital trust, let me kind of take you through about six things that we have come across. Number one, this digital trust is no purely a technical solution. So of course, most of the time, some people may position you, okay, this is a technical solution. Okay, if you have this product, this application, this cloud application, you would be digitally trusted. No, it's not. It's not a purely technical solution. There are a lot of other things involved. And second, there are no shortcuts. Of course, digital trust needs to be earned. So it's not like, okay, you just kind of go through a different path and kind of you get it, but there's no shortcuts. And third, trust in the digital world is closely linked to offline experience with the company you provide as well. So, I believe almost all of you who are successful in this and or who are going to be successful in this exports trade. So you have your own offline experience as well. So you have your connections with the respective parties. You sometimes fly to their destination, meet them, and shake hand with them on the deal and so on and so forth. So it's very important, and it's closely linked with the offline experience as well. And the next, digital trust is an ongoing practical challenge and cannot be built overnight. So would you think, okay, after this session or after spending another couple of millions, whether I'm going to be digitally trusted by all over the world, the customers in all over the world? No, it is not. So basically, there are practical challenges because different continents, different countries has their own legislations and their way of managing. And meantime, you have free trade agreements with Sri Lanka and their countries, and so on and so forth. So it's an ongoing practical challenge. So of course, you can work through it. Of course, we have tools to get it done. I will talk about it in little later. But of course, you can't build the digital trust overnight. So that's something you have to remember. And next, transparency is key in building digital trust. So you have to be very transparent on what you're currently doing. So on top of that, uh, finally, the digital trust concerns all stakeholders and requires holistic and iterative approach. What do you mean by whole stakeholders? So of course, starting from the exporter staff to the customer staff, or maybe their own customers, the whomever who using the product that you are manufacturing or maybe exporting. So you have to be looking into the aspects throughout. So from the time you purchase the manufacturing, or maybe you are doing the manufacturing and so on and so forth, up until get the holistic, basically up until you get it to the end user. So of course you have to look into all of these angles. So ideally, in broader sense, trust in the digital world is not limited to data protection, cybersecurity alone, but it encompasses social and ethical responsibility as well. Let me take you to the next slide. So uh, what you can see here, this is one of the representations from very well known in basically the global website. So here you can see there are certain red color countries, red color areas as well, right? So why it is important? You can see even Sri Lanka has indicated as no legislation country related to digital trust, which is uh, which is incorrect. I'll get back to you within next couple of slides. Okay, how and what we have, because most of the time people refers to these websites and see, okay, whether our countries are eligible to get into it, and whether they can work with that, these kind of exporters, these kind of service providers, outsourcing and so on and so forth. So all of these areas too. So they almost all the time has to basically they comes back to these global sites and check whether they have these legislations and so on and so forth, whatever the feasibility plus compliancy to work with. Okay, so next couple of slides. So we will talk about the competitive edge that we can get with digital trust and how we can get it. So before that, I would like to kind of play a very quick video just to kind of give you a little bit of what I was talking. Okay, the cybersecurity, the trust, and all of these things. Okay, how this is kind of quite an example how people would kind of go about certain things without even having pretty much very technical things. Um, I believe you will hear the video sound. It's about 2 minutes video. Let me play it. I believe you got some idea, right? So basically, this trust can be earned with, I mean, she earned the trust without even having any sophisticated tool. So that's why, I mean, of course, trust needs to be earned and you have to act on it. And there are a lot of other things. And on top of that, you have to make sure that you're going with a holistic perspective and it includes all the stakeholders. Okay, where we stopped. So actually, we were looking at the countries and okay, countries which has legislations and draft legislations or no legislations related to digital trust within these countries. So even though this indicates that Sri Lanka has no legislations, Sri Lanka has. I mean, this is something that we need to change. Actually, as Information Systems Audit and Control Association Sri Lanka, so of course we work with the respective organizations like EDB and so on and so forth to make sure that we change this public perspective and public information and correct them. So let me kind of take you through a little bit of what we have in Sri Lanka. When it comes to Sri Lanka, of course, the most recent addition to this set of legislations is Personal Data Protection Act. I believe most of you may have heard of this, and there are a lot of conversations going around and so on and so forth. This PDPA is more of the talk of the town at the moment because it facilitates a lot of things that includes uh, businesses between the countries that we already have free trade agreements, and on top of that things that we could do with the countries which has similar legislations and so on and so forth. Actually, it's a very powerful act in context of the digital trust, where we can work with the countries who are concerned about these areas. Especially, I believe if you are working with the countries like countries in Europe, of course, they may almost all the time will come and tell you, okay, you have to be GDPR compliant, General Data Protection Regulation compliant. So how can we kind of counter answer that question? Are we GDPR compliant? Okay, are we in a position to kind of match are we in a country which can match the GDPR's requirements? So as a exporter, are we in a position to kind of match our things and kind of show them, okay, we are compliant? So of course, as far as I'm concerned, the answer today would be yes, because uh, with the support of PDPA, we can kind of do a lot of things, which includes the cross-border data transfer and so on and so forth. And on top of that, we have Electronic Transaction Act number 19 from 2006. Of course, that was amended in 2017 with even allowing us to kind of do a lot of transactions related to personal deeds and even code documents and so on and so forth. It's very powerful in my case. Of course, if you're interested in, I think you can looking into getting into these things. And third is Computer Crime Act. So of course, if your exporters are a little clustered about how you would, I mean, if anything happens to their information or if anything happens to the blueprints or anything that they have sent to you to get certain things done, and intellectual property rights and so on and so forth. Of course, there are regulations, the laws, acts, which is available for you to kind of get into it. So on top of these three key acts, there are supporting acts like Intellectual Property Act of 2003, which completely gives you support on intellectual property angle. Okay, if you're getting any intellectual property rights from any of your customers to kind of build something of your own and export, which is unique for the customer and so on and so forth. Of course, there are facilitation that you can go into. And on top of that, Payment and Settlement Systems Act and the Payment Device Fraud Act. So all of these things particularly support the digital trust, where and what we can do and how we can do it. Okay, so let me give you a clear picture about digital trust. When I started, I told that okay, digital trust is not about um, technical systems. It's not about technology. So what is it? So of course, when it comes to digital trust for you and your corporations, your enterprises, your organizations, of course, at least about six angles you have to look into. Number one, it's more than tech. So it's about ethics, it's about governance, it's about brand management, it's about partner security, it's about social policies. Of course, nowadays, I believe that we have SDGs, which you have to comply with. The people in most of those countries, especially Europe, Australia, New Zealand, US, Canada, so they are concerned about how we uh, work with the SDGs, right? So sustainable development goals. So they are always looking to what is the quality that you are providing for different services, and how inclusive your services are, and at the same time how green they are, how much of carbon dioxide or so and so forth is being uh, emitted, and so on and so forth, and how ethical you are, and so on and so forth. So all of these areas is being looked into. And next, the basically people, process, organizational, and tech. And further, you can look into activities, outcomes, and so on and so forth. So it's about processes, the procedures, and how quality that you are bringing in as personnel. So what kind of people you recruit and how capable they are to kind of deliver the work, and what kind of processes that use, and how your organization is structured, and so on and so forth. So I mean, couple of areas. I mean, there can be customers who would prefer to purchase from uh, companies which have more females. Okay, they might have more preference for that. Okay, there can be certain organizations or certain customers who would like to buy from organizations who supports the differently able people. So and so forth. At the same time, again, digital trust is a fundamental to business growth as well. So of course, if you look at uh, it is basically depends on security. I mean, it builds the customer loyalty, because if you look from this angle, so of course you are getting into a different stage or different phase of your uh, business. So of course that's why they say it's fundamentally grow your business, right? So is that all? If you look into the bottom left hand corner, you can see supply chain is also very crucial part of the digital trust. I mean, it was there since then, but I believe there was certain incidents which has happened couple of months or years back, and especially COVID happened. So basically that kind of blocked many supplies. Basically, even us, we couldn't export because of the closures that we had and some restrictions we had, so and so forth. So it's very important to look into the supply chain as well. So when it comes to supply chains, you have to look into the global, economical, and other environmental factors, and so on and so forth. So I mean, these areas are included. So I mean, as I indicated at the very beginning, so when it comes to the third-party risk management. So basically, almost all the time, they will look into majority of these angles, or maybe almost all of these angles, before they kind of tie up with us exporter or service provider. And next, as I always was mentioning, you need to be transparent. So you need to make sure you provide the consumers the rightful information and how things are being done and so on and so forth. At the same time, it needs to be across the digital ecosystem as well. So remember, this is more of, again, it's important to have the offline engagement as well. So there has to be kind of balance between your offline engagement plus the digital engagement. And finally, it meets the user's expectation, right? So of course, especially countries like countries in Europe, US, Canada, Australia. So this the better markets that we are looking into. So they always are worried about their privacy. You may have noticed during couple of last many months, so many, almost last couple of years. You may have seen there are a lot of conversations going on about Facebook, about Google, or about TikTok, how they collect the information, how they store information, what is the impact they have on the privacy, and so on and so forth. I believe you may have seen at least something about these things. So of course, it's very important to make sure you meet the user's expectations. So ultimately, even though you are selling it to a customer or maybe to the end user, uh, your ultimately whomever who is using at the end would have their expectations met. So once again, so what is this digital trust framework? So how and what is included there? So of course, this is the model which was kind of done by the World Economic Forum. So they are basically working on this digital framework. So you can see it's particularly looking at three different areas: security and reliability, accountability and oversight, inclusive, ethical, and responsible use. So these are the three areas that we always use. So this, I mean, by look of it, you can see that they almost all the all of these they are looking at how can they bring the inclusivity, the responsibility, and green related actions into it. And inside that, you can see there are 8 areas. Um, you can see cybersecurity being one of them, but of course, it's not the only thing, right? So you can see cybersecurity is only one of those areas, and then you have privacy. Actually, I was talking about Personal Data Protection Act. That is what supports the country's privacy of the individuals. So on top of that, again, you can see the transparency. And availability and the fairness, interoperability, safety, and all of these areas. So I'm not going to explain to you each and every area, but of course, uh, feel free to write to us if you looking to kind of listen to our sessions in the future. But of course, we have our own YouTube channel. If you search for ISACA Sri Lanka, so you can go there. So basically, we talk about these kind of things every month. Uh, at least once a month, we have an event, so that through that we are our duty is to kind of make the public and our membership aware about these kind of things, these things. So of course, it's available free of charge for everybody. So of course, how this is going to be uh, impacted onto the data, or maybe why digital trust. So of course, when it comes to the more of legacy type of models, they were always looking at data and the basically people, application infrastructure, and on top of that, access control and processes. So I mean, I mean, you as a manufacturer or maybe excess exporter, you may have been going through all of these things, right? So you have assets, you have controls, you have processes, or maybe you have to adhere to controls, or you may have to adhere to the procedures or processes that is that is being put forward by the regulators, or maybe other governments. So, but on top of that, it's very important as an organization, you look into the angle from the organizational perspective, and on top of that, the governance perspective, which includes what kind of regulations, what kind of acts, what kind of rules, laws are applicable. And on top of that, I believe most of you may have kind of looking into ISO standards. Maybe things related to your organization, maybe some examples: ISO 9000, ISO 22000, ISO 27001, ISO 22000. So likewise, you may be looking to all of these aspects. So of course, you can kind of build governance around using these areas. At the same time, if you kind of looking towards the left hand side, uh, most of the time now it's very much expensive for any of us to build our own practices within our organization. So at most of the time, in in order for us to kind of get this expertise or maybe this consultation into the picture, we use third parties. So that's where most of the time we have to get support from, because if you look at us as a country, so I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time. So basically, during last many months, there were a lot of people who were experts on these areas have migrated. So because of that, there's a kind of a vacuum that can be filled, that needs to be filled, of course. And at the same time, I mean, it's good, since we have service providers who provide all of these services. I'm not going to mention any names or so and so forth, but it's of course there are providers that you can go back and kind of rely on to kind of consult you on these aspects of digital trust and these frameworks and so on and so forth. Okay, so I believe I kind of give you glimpse of what digital trust is, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer. So if there's anything, you can put it to the chat or the Q&A area, so that I'm happy to look into and answer to you. At the same time, I will kind of give you a little bit of picture of what we are trying to do with the Export Development Board. Actually, this was presented to them some time back, and we are looking forward for some call for actions. We are looking into mainly 6 different areas. So number one is basically the support. So basically, we are looking into support EDB and get the support from EDB to kind of build digital trust initiatives within the export sector. Uh, so communicating this message about the session throughout to you is one of the supports that we have got. But actually, we are looking into kind of continue this dialogue with you all. So either in personally or maybe through support of the EDB. And on top of that, the collaborative awareness. So of course, this is one of the workshops. So of course, uh, we have teams, we have people, individuals who are capable of delivering sessions, and even we have accredited trainers who would do that. Okay, I will talk about what kind of organization we are. So in the next couple of slides, just for you to understand, we are a volunteer organization, but I will talk about it later. And then the advocacy for regulation. So almost all the time, I mean, even though we don't look from your angle, or you might not realize that certain regulations which is coming to the picture, coming to play, will have an impact on what you are currently doing as well. Very good example is PDPA, so Personal Data Protection Act. So prior to 2022, actually, we didn't had any mechanism of talking about our own privacy, people taking our photos and putting into internet, and when we are working in public areas and so on and so forth. At the same time, amount of spam emails, the advertisements and so on and so forth that comes into our mobile phone, or maybe to our email. So there was no control, there is no legislation, there's no authority who can act on top of it and kind of give us a relief. So, but when it comes to from your angle also, you have to be little aware about these things. The things that you would have done previously, you might have to kind of relook at the way that you have been doing it, or maybe you will have to use different mechanisms, tools to kind of get things done in the proper manner. So advocacy for regulations is important. I mean, basically, even though it's not directly sees as something that is impacting exports, but there can be certain areas that is related to technology, related to data protection, the privacy, or maybe cybersecurity. Since all of these things are getting related to one to another, since you are working from one country and you're kind of trying to connect with personnel from another country or a continent. And then the facilitate partnership. So basically, we are looking at getting into support, getting in connection with the export organizations and kind of provide support with the mutual benefits. And at the same time, integrate digital trust. So of course, it's very important when we take our name to the rest of the world, the global, to show that, okay, we are also a country who is responsible, who is concerned about the protection of data and protection of about privacy and kind of people who manages or maintain the respect to transparency and all of these things. And finally, the capacity building. I believe this would be kind of open little bit of your eyes to kind of getting into knowing things about digital trust and okay, what the things around it. So finally, I kept a couple of slides to kind of give you a little bit of picture of whom we are, so that you know, okay, why we are concerned about making awareness to all of us, all of you. So of course, it's a very brief introduction to ISACA and ISACA Sri Lanka. ISACA is the Information Systems Audit and Control Association. We are a global community, so we have different actually we have 255 chapters across the globe, and we try to kind of build collaborations within countries, within continents, to kind of build common frameworks to support each and every aspect of our areas. So we are a learning community, so we have focus on particularly 6 areas. We are looking at privacy, security, risk, quality assurance, and governance. So these are the areas that we are particularly looking into. And if you search for ISACA or .org, or maybe ISACA.lk, our local site, so basically you will see that we conduct a lot of awareness related to these areas. Even if you go to the YouTube channel, so you will see a lot of information that is related to this area. At the same time, I mean, we are a small country, small team. So basically, it's a very minimal number of members. I mean, we don't have much of members as well. So as of now, we have only about 300 individual members who are professionals of different organizations who are supporting their organizations. And at the same time, some people from third-party suppliers who provide services related to information, cybersecurity, governance, risk compliance, and other areas. So you can see that, I mean, for throughout last many years, actually, we've been performing well with respect to other countries' chapters as well. So you can see in 2022, we received Outstanding Chapter Achievement Award. Then on top of that, 2023 Innovative Chapter, and even for 2024, we have already won the Outstanding Chapter Leader Award for our past president, who is one of the key part of LOLC group. Are we doing things alone? No, actually not. Actually, we make sure that we work in collaboration. So you can see we are having about 10 partners as of now, MOU partners whom we are working with. So we have Federation of IT Sri Lanka, so we support them. At the same time, SLUSCOM, Sri Lanka Association for Outsourced Services, and Computer Society of Sri Lanka, Chartered Accountants, Sri Lanka CERT, whom is working on the security aspect of the country, certified financial analyst Society, British Computer Society, the Chartered Institute, then the ISC squad, and international auditors, and the same time Sri Lanka chapter of Cloud Security Alliance. So all of these chapters actually we are working with, and it's important for us to kind of keep in work in collaboration so that we build the right name and right amount of information and right support to whomever who requires the support. Very quickly, so basically, as I indicated, this is a member organization. So I myself is the current president, and we have Mr. Ashen Jayasekara, who is the managing partner for BDO, who is currently being the vice president. At the same time, Indika Rajakaruna, who is Chief Information Security Officer at NDB, and the same time, Dr. Rasika Daratna, who is from University of Colombo School of Computing. So on top of this, actually, we have 11 more leadership team members who are working on getting support what you need and what the public would work into. At the same time, all the members, the rest of the T100 members also supporting us to get into where we want to be in the near future. So what do we envision? So it's very simple. So I believe you may have heard of this 15 billion contribution to digital economy story. So of course, as I told you, so basically it's not about being technical or building technology as a service. I mean, if you can build digital trust among the exporters and create more exports and more will bring more customers into the country and bring relationships between the countries whom we are not working at the moment, or maybe ease out the ways of exports with the current export countries, so and so forth. So that is where, I mean, we can contribute and get this digital trust done. So that's very important to understand. Of course, it doesn't mean that okay, we can kind of build information technology industry and kind of bring the 15 billion. It's not. Basically, we need to make sure that we get the support of each and every areas that we can looking into. Of course, tourism, the exports, and so on and so forth. All of these areas whom we are connecting with outside world, of course, require this digital trust. And through that, definitely we'll be able to achieve this target of 15 billion. At the same time, so we provide support to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka to kind of drive the cashless payments so that it will kind of drive transparency and so and so forth. And finally, actually, we also need to kind of take care of the people who are working on these areas, who has been contributing to these areas for last many decades, and kind of encourage people to get into it. So we are looking at building more of a award ceremony. So I will talk about it in a bit. And this is where we want to envision. So we are in the process of actually becoming a member of ISACA. May look from an angle it's a little expensive, but of course we are in the process of building a local community so that okay, so anyone can connect and basically get the information and the support you require. At the same time, build a community of companies that includes all of you as well. So if we can kind of create a community of companies who would work on these aspects, because you already saw the digital trust environment includes the supply chain angle as well. So I mean, it's very important for you to kind of get into that. At the same time, we are in the process of building our kind of getting into our own managed training center so that we can do more awareness, do more things. And on top of that, product validation. You know, most of the time when you take your product to a customer, they almost all the time will looking to, okay, what are the standards you followed? Okay, what are the validations that you have on the product? So ISACA as a global organization, and we as the representative of the global organization. So of course, we also looking to a local program which can be endorsed through the main chapters, so basically other chapters to get a product validation program in place. So that will allow all of you to kind of validate your products with the excellence seal of excellence, and kind of share that information with the respective parties when you, I mean, that might be a deal breaker when you go into a kind of creating a new sale or building a new customer. And director of consultants, so of course, I mean, we have noticed that it will be a requirement in the future, so that anyone who wants to get consultancy, that you need to kind of find this information. So very soon we are looking forward to kind of share this information in our website. We already have our membership, but of course, these the same laws that we are talking about, the personal data protection, digital trust, and electronic transaction, all of these kind of blocks us from sharing any of the information openly, right? So of course we have to build kind of controls, and on top of that get the consents of the respective parties before we share all of these information. So we are in the process of it, and most probably very soon you will hear about it. And finally, it's more of a very long-term aspect. Basically, we are looking into getting the Digital Trust World Summit into the country, so that we can kind of show where we are as a country, and so on and so forth. So very quickly, kind of final part of the session. So basically, uh, in case so you want to kind of showcase, and if you are already kind of doing certain or maybe most of things that we were talking about to kind of build the digital trust, of course you can validate, there needs to be a mechanism to validate that you are doing it right. Either you have to kind of build, get everything into a framework and get a standard, some third party auditor to kind of get it kind of basically evaluated and kind of go for it, or basically you are compliant to kind of those things, and you are in the process of getting into that. And meantime, if you want to kind of looking into where we are, actually we have built digital trust awards, which will give you a kind of a picture where you are at the moment, so you can get some analysis from our inputs that we are going to provide when you participate. So of course there are two different awards that will be relevant to you. So one is technology resilient company. So of course, this talks about, okay, whether you are resilient to technology changes, you have business continuity plans, DR, and so on and so forth. So if you are interested, just have a look. And I mean, if you think that, okay, it's good for go for this, okay, and you can apply for it. At the same time, the key person who is looking into these aspects, which it is usually known as the Chief Information Security Officer. So if there is any individuals who would like to be kind of recognized as best individual who would do such things to kind of get your company into the next level, so you can look into it. So particularly we have five types of awards. So I'm not going to explain further onto this. Basically, you can see all of this information in ISACA.lk website. So of course, so there are key industries that we have looked into as since this is the inaugural Digital Trust Awards. So of course, particularly I mean, since most of our membership is from financial, banking, financial sector, and insurance. So we have thought, okay, it would be the ideal to kind of give them priority, but still we have identified six other other areas: tourism and hospitality, uh, education, manufacturing, healthcare, and retail. So we these are the main categories that we have introduced to the this year's this year's competition. And on top of that, we have public sector and other. So if any one of you would like to apply, and if you don't fall into any of these categories, you can apply under the other category. So there is a mechanism that we have the core set of judges who are very prominent in the industry from different aspects. So they would like to, I mean, we will looking to how suitable for us to kind of build different other categories based on the application we are going to receive. So once again, just a reminder, so technology resilient company and the fees of the year. So these are the awards that is available. So if you already do something related to digital trust, I believe it will be a good opportunity for you to kind of try it and kind of see whether you can get some endorsement from through ISACA as well. Right. So of course, this is the more of the last slide of my session. So I think I've done the justice for your time for us 55 minutes. Of course, what we are looking at is let's work together for building a nation with digital trust. So if we build a nation with digital trust, so of course it will be easy for every one of us to kind of deal with the rest of the world. Right. Thank you very much. So if you have any comments, any feedback, so I would like to hear from you. So I will try whether we can uh, switch on the mics of yours. So if you have any comments, anything that you can share your comments.